31st of October 2024 and until the 15th of February 2025. This webinar is designed to answer all of your questions that you might have regarding this call, and to do so we have different speakers. We have Piet Losch from the Ministry of the Economy, we have Elisa Urbain from Klimaagence, and myself, Laurie Ensch from Lux Innovation. We also have Laurence Stock and Raphaël Vertommen from the Ministry of the Economy, who are also here to answer your potential questions that you still might have. And before now really going over the presentations, let me just go over the agenda and what to expect today during the call. So for the agenda, we first have Piet Losch, who will provide you all of the details regarding this call for projects. We then have Elisa Urbain, who will present you the manual for the permitting procedures for renewable energy projects, and myself, I will outline how Lux Innovation can support companies during the application process. And then in the end, we will have a Q&A session. Here, I want to mention that you can already, during the presentation, ask your questions. Please raise your hand first. So below you have a raise button. There you can raise your hand. You will receive a request to unmute yourself, and then you can ask your question. So you can do this either during the presentation or wait until the end for the Q&A session. And there's also a chat function. So if you feel more comfortable writing your question, please feel free to do so. And yes, lastly, I would like to inform you that this webinar is being recorded. So you will have a recording and the slides that you can find on the Lux Innovation website after the webinar in 1 or 2 days. You will receive an email when everything is ready. And with that being said, we can then start the presentation, and I hand over to Piet Losch.
Good afternoon from my side. I hope you can hear me. Thank you very much to Lux Innovation and for the organization of this meeting, this webinar. I'm indeed now presenting in the coming 5 to 10 minutes the key parameters of the call for demonstration projects for renewable hydrogen production in Luxembourg, which has recently been launched. Some of you might have had the chance to participate at the task force meeting of the Task Force Hydrogen Luxembourg at the Chamber of Commerce, and had a first glance at this call, but we will take a moment more time today to discuss the call and to answer all of your questions. Why did we, the Ministry of the Economy, organize this call? The context is that Luxembourg is committed to achieving carbon neutrality at the latest in 2050. This is not only foreseen in the initial NECP, in the updated National Energy and Climate Plan, but also reflected in the National Hydrogen Strategy. Hydrogen is in Luxembourg considered, and especially renewable hydrogen, as a strategic energy vector to be able to accomplish the energy transition. It will help to reach the objectives of decarbonization by promoting innovative projects, specifically mobilized through this call for the renewable domestic hydrogen production. It is important, and we expect that through the projects developed in the context of this call, domestic expertise can be accumulated in Luxembourg, and thereby the development of the sustainable hydrogen economy can be kickstarted even before Luxembourg will be connected to a European-wide hydrogen network, which will eventually allow also to import hydrogen from abroad. What is being subsidized by the present call for projects? Well, the construction and operation, as well as the commercialization, so the selling of renewable hydrogen produced in demonstration electrolyzer facilities in Luxembourg. The minimum size of these projects is defined at 100 kilowatts installed electrolysis capacity, and the maximum capacity is set at 6 megawatts electrolysis capacity. This call, with a total budget of 110 million euro, aims to reach a cumulative installed electrolysis capacity in Luxembourg of at least 12 megawatts. The product, as I alluded to, needs to be commercialized. It doesn't make sense. The call is designed in a way that it is clearly use less to just produce hydrogen for the sake of producing it, but it is important to bring it into an economic value chain where it can help decarbonize Luxembourg's economy. This is the key timelines represented on this slide. So the call was opened on October 31st this year and will be closed on February 15th at midnight. And the evaluation period, the ministry has 3 months time to evaluate the projects that will be received, and the decision for funding will be announced by the end of May. Now, the support mechanism that is being tested in this call for demonstrator projects is a support mechanism which is later on aimed at replicating in more regular calls. And for this first call, a total budget, I've mentioned it, of 110 million euros was secured. And according to European state aid rules, we had to commit to stick to a maximum aid subsidy per project of 30 million euros per project. The aid that will be attributed in the frame of this instrument will be composed of 2 elements. One, on the one hand side, an operational aid, where aid can be requested of up to 7 euros per kilogram hydrogen produced and commercialized. And depending on whether a project aims at installing non-subsidized additional renewable energies in Luxembourg that will be used to produce the renewable hydrogen, a bonus of up to 3 euros per kilogram hydrogen can be requested. On top of that, operational aid and investment aid can be requested at the height of up to 45% of the eligible costs. It is a call for projects, so it is not intrinsically a tender procedure, but nonetheless we have competition mechanisms that are foreseen in case the total budget is being requested or is being in case the total budget is requested, these competitive mechanisms will be enforced, and the ranking will be performed based on total financial aid requested. So basically, we will combine the investment aid requested with the operational aid, and the ranking will thus be done according to the indicator expressed in euros per kilogram of a kilogram of hydrogen produced and commercialized during the first 10 years of the plant's operation. It is important to note that, as mentioned, exclusively the production of renewable hydrogen will be supported by this mechanism. And furthermore, it is important to note that exclusively companies legally established in Luxembourg will be considered eligible for participating in this call. And we've added in these slides, and the slides will be shared after the webinar, the links to the two delegated regulations of the European Commission according with the Renewable Energies Directive, in which these two texts, the criteria are defined for what is considered a renewable fuel of non-biological origin. And now if you, the participants of today's webinar, are interested in participating in the present call, these are some of the steps you need to take in order to participate. So first of all, you can inform yourself, read the tender document, of course. Then you can obtain and complete the application form, for which you can count on the support by Lux Innovation. You will need to prepare a number of additional documentation, and you need to describe the demonstration or innovative character of the project. For this, again, you can count on the support of Lux Innovation. If you want to build, of course, such a plant of a certain industrial character, you will also need to secure necessary permits before going online and producing this gas. And therefore, it is recommended to consult the Manuel des Procédures set up together with the Klimaagence, and which will be presented in a few minutes by a colleague from Klimaagence. And this we recommend actually to get started with requesting the permits as soon as possible, so that you can respect the entry into operation within the 36 months of realization period that is foreseen in this call. I've mentioned that you will need to prepare a number of documents. So this is not an exhaustive list, but nonetheless, we wanted to highlight a number of documents that will be requested so that your application will be considered eligible. The documents, you will find a more exhaustive list of the documents in chapter 4.2 of the tender document. But in any case, we will need a detailed business plan that specifies the prices and volumes of hydrogen that will be aimed to produce and commercialize within the frame of your projects during the first 10 years. And a declaration stating that the plant will produce only hydrogen as defined in this call, thus only renewable hydrogen according to the delegated acts at European Union level, we mentioned before. The completed application form, as just mentioned a slide ago, with one important indicator being the total support value. That's the value I've mentioned 2 slides ago, according to which the ranking will be performed. So the value considering both operational and invest aid. Then, in order to respect the incentive effect, it is important to submit non-binding pre-contractual hydrogen and power purchase agreements. For the hydrogen purchase agreement, the duration of this contract has to be of at least 5 years, and for the power purchase agreement, we expect the duration of the contract to be the 10 years of the support duration. Then, as mentioned before, of course, a detailed description of the demonstration or innovative character of the project will be required, and the completion guarantee of 50 euros per kilowatt installed electrolyzer capacity based on the bank guarantee will be necessary as well. This is the last slide of my presentation, because I wanted to let you know that we are indeed working on a frequently asked questions document, which has not been shared yet, but which is at a quite advanced stage, and we will, of course, take the questions addressed today into account in order to finalize this document and then distribute it in due time. With this, I can hand over to Elisa.
Thank you, Pete. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elisa Urbain. I'm an engineer at Climat Agence working in the business department. In this presentation, I will present you a tool made for renewable energy project developer in Luxembourg and will explain you how to use it. So before going directly in the thematic, I wanted to introduce shortly Climat Agence for those who doesn't know us. So who are we? Climat Agence is a national partner for energy and climate. We are supported by the government, represented by the three ministries named on the slide, in collaboration with the Chambre des Métiers and the OAI. We are supporting the Luxembourgish society, the private person, the companies, the commune, and the state on their path to climate protection and energy transition. So why these tools matter? This tools guide was created to support the project developer through the permits process for renewable energy project, which includes the renewable hydrogen. So this manual can be downloaded on our website. I will send you the link in the conversation chat after my presentation. The manual is available only in French, as the legislation is also written in French. So here you can see an overview of all the procedure that has been studied in the cadre of the manual. And here are all the type of projects that have been studied. And the part that interests us today is the renewable hydrogen and the gas storage. So to explain you more easily how to use the manual, I will go through one case study. And at the end of the presentation, you will know which authorization have to be asked for this example, and the maximum timeline for the authorization project and the documents you need to send to the different administration. So here is the case study. So we are talking about an installation by a private company of renewable hydrogen production facilities using electrolyze, with a production capacity of 2,250 kilograms of hydrogen per day. So here's an example with the equivalence of 5 electrolytes of a defined type and a 5 megawatt of green electricity. And to this, we are adding a storage capacity of 6,000 kilograms of hydrogen. So the authorization process should take less than 2 years, as the law says. And here we can see more in detail. So in the manual, you're going to have on the capital 1.2 this table, which are hyperlinks. So the first one we're not going to click is the renewable hydrogen. And if you click on it, then you're going to see all the different legislation. So for this technology, there are no difference depending on the amount of the production of hydrogen. It's the same procedure for all the projects. So in this table, you have 3 different ways to process. Either you select the legislation in the first column and you will be redirected on the legal basis. Then you will see the contents needed for the application for each legislation or the documents, then the procedure, and then the interdependence with the other procedure. The second way is to click here on the Voir remarque, where it's possible, if you want more information about the legislation in the cadre of that specific technology. And the third option you have is directly be redirected to the procedure, and there's going to be the annex that I will present to you later with the different workflow procedure. So with all that information, you're going to know everything about the hydrogen authorization, but in that case study, there was also a gas storage part that may need some different authorization. So we have to go back to the first table in the capital 1.2, and this time select the gas storage. In the example we had 6,000 kilograms of hydrogen, and so here we are in the category bigger than 7,000 liter, because 7,000 liters is the equivalent of 300 kilograms with a pressure of 700 bars. And when you click on it, you're going to be redirected to this tablet that is similar than the hydrogen, and then you can select the column you want to get more details. To help you as well with the content of authorization, application, and the procedure workflow, here are the annex that are as well on the link on the website that you can download as well. And on the side, it's maybe too small to see, but this is the example of the workflow for the Commodore of class 1. And then I had a second one with the Seveso. I think that one is the Seveso, sorry. And with all those information, after you can have a retroactive planning and see the interdependence with the other procedure. And as well in the manual, you can also find some good practices and the different subsides that can be asked on the national level and as well on European level. So here I put the link once again that has been sent, as I see in the chat. So if you have any technical question or more in detail, you can ask us at entreprise@climatagence.lu. But if you have other question, organization, or if the document is working, you can ask it to me now or at the end of the presentation.
Okay, great. Then I will show you how Lux Innovation can also support you with your application process. Pitt already mentioned what you as a company should do if you want to participate in this call for project. So as a company, you contact the ministry in order to get the templates, and then you describe the chosen project, you estimate the cost and the revenues that it generates. You should negotiate your hydrogen purchase agreement as well as your power purchase agreement, but always keeping in mind the incentive effect, meaning that you cannot sign those documents before submitting your participation in this call for projects. And then you also should assess the expected funding gap, apply for the required authorization, and finally, when everything is done, you can submit your request for the subsidy and to the ministry via the following link that we added here and that you will find also in the slides. Lux Innovation, we can help you with the eligibility check. So this means we can assess the eligibility criteria regarding your co-financing capacity, undertaking and difficulty criteria. We can help you assess the innovative character of the project and help you with methodological support. So deciding the scope of this call for project, assist you with the use of the templates, and just do a general completeness check before you submit. And with that being said, we are at the end of this presentation. So here we have again the main contact details, and now we can really go over to the question and answer session. So again, if you have some questions, please feel free to raise your hand. We will give you a request to unmute so you can ask your question. Or if you're more at ease, you can use the chat function. I saw that a question was already mentioned here. So maybe I can read that one aloud to start the session. So indeed, here we have the subsidy that is composed of two different parts. We have the investment aid and the operational aid. So this is why we talk about those two different parts. Are there any other questions? Yes, I see someone raising their hand. Just a moment. We will give you requests to unmute, and normally it should work. So you should receive a notification so that you can accept the request to unmute, and then you can unmute yourself below on your screen. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It indeed works. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. My name is Alain Mestar, and I represent Metacon. I had a quick question in addition to the first one. When I listened to Elisa's presentation, so part of the actual, let's say, requests for the implementation of a hydrogen project, part of that also would be to get an application granted for the actual physical setting up of the production site.
I can thank you very much, Alain Mestar, for this question. Indeed, that is an additional requirement to show that you have a site in Luxembourg on which you can indeed develop your project.
Okay, next question on that. I mean, as we all know around the screen, land does come at a premium in Luxembourg. Are there any existing sites which are managed by the government? I'm just using an example, for example, the sites in Volser who have been predestined for industrial usage. Are those available, or do the project managers need to locate whatever, a different site and start the whole process from scratch?
Luckily, I have the two colleagues, Laurence and Raphael, from the ministry in the call with me as well, so I can give it a try to answer your follow-up question, but please, Laurence and Raphael, come in to complement my answer. So I would say that you can, via the known mechanisms, let's call it that way, known channels, contact the other general directorate in our Ministry of the Economy that is in charge of to manage the Zonen Artisanal, the industrial zones, and that manages also any available land. And through the very normal procedure, get in touch with them, ask them, present your project, and then come to a conclusion. I am working at the General Directorate for Energy, Laurent at the General Directorate for Industries, and Raphael at the General Directorate for State Aid. So none of us can give you any further detailed information how that process to ask for such state-owned land, to ask for an access to such state-owned land will go on in detail, but there is a possibility. And then alternatively, of course, you can acquire land in a way and develop your project on that land. But please, Laurence and Raphael, if you want to complement.
I have nothing else to add to your what you said.
No, that's right. You can simply apply as for any other project, make your request, and then you will get the return on it.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe the only problem I would see is more in terms of timing. I don't know how long it takes for these procedures to to get an approval to get somewhere a place in one of these sites. I don't know how long it takes. So this might just be the only problem here, because for this call, as soon as the decision is taken, you have 3 years for the electrolyzer to be installed.
Okay. Were that all your questions, or do you have some other questions? In that case, I would go over to the chat. There we had some questions. So we were asked if we could get the slides. In fact, yes, you will receive the slides, and the recording of this webinar will be accessible via the Lux Innovation website. In the end, you will receive an email when everything is online. And then we also have another question. Can the off-taker be located outside of Luxembourg? So I don't know, Piet, Raphael, or Laurence, if someone wants to answer that.
Yeah. Yes, I can take it. And again, colleagues can feel free to step in. Afterwards, we have received this question also at our recent plenary meeting of the Task Force Hydrogen. And indeed, as for many other state aid support instruments, if you support production of a good in one country, it is forbidden to restrict the to geographically restrict customers on the other end of the equation. So that means that, of course, preferably the hydrogen stays somewhere close to where it is consumed, because transport comes at a cost, but there is no legal obligation that that hydrogen has to stay in Luxembourg.
Okay, thank you. I was under the impression that there was another hand raised by Luc Jacobs. So we will send you a request to unmute so you can ask your question.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Luc Jacobs. I don't really have a question, more like a remark. So I work for the Luxembourgish Water Agency. And I just wanted to mention that actually in the context of projects like those here, it is very important to check some environmental aspects that must be clarified at a very early stage, actually the earliest possible. And by that, I mean more specifically the waste management of wastewater, which is being generated in the context of these projects, but also the water supply, generally speaking. And those aspects have to be checked quite early, because it's the choice for location is very important to guarantee that those aspects can be realized or not, because the wastewater disposal is, especially if we are speaking about wastewater such as the wastewater that will be generated for those kind of projects, it cannot be disposed of everywhere. So it's very important to clarify those aspects the earliest possible.
Thank you very much for that comment, and maybe I take it as take this opportunity also to make the link to the guide that has been presented by the Climat Agence, because indeed in that guide, the Manuel de Procédure, you will also find the recommendation that indeed whenever you're planning to develop a project producing hydrogen or whatever other renewable energy source it may be, it is always recommendable to contact the Ministry of the Environment, Climate and Biodiversity and its agencies, as well as in certain cases the ITM, to clarify what is needed for your specific project in terms of permits.
Okay, perfect. I don't see any additional questions at the moment in the chat. Please feel free to always ask something. There is still a hand raised by Alain Mestat, but I think maybe this is still the previous question. Okay, I see you shaking your head. So if anyone else still has some questions, please feel free. We can maybe just wait a minute or two. Also, in case you have some questions that will come up later on, you have our email addresses here on this slide, so always feel free to reach out later on.
Yes, hello. It's Philip Fisch from GPSS from Luxembourg. So thank you very much for the presentation. I have a question regarding the HPA document which has been provided to the application. So the question is, will there be kind of a template provided by the ministry, or at least some specification on what details have to be mentioned and included into the HPA?
I can start again. Thank you, Philippe Fisch, for this question. It was not planned to provide to develop a template for an HPA, but if I'm not mistaken, actually that is already one question for which we have proposed an answer in the draft FAQ. We will specify all the necessary elements that need to be covered in such an HPA, be it the volume, now I don't have it in front of my eyes, but certainly you will need to specify the hydrogen volume that is sold on an annual basis, the price, the duration, the customer, the price I've said already. There are a number of elements that certainly need to be clarified in such an HPA document, and we will try to clarify this, to list these in the FAQ.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so maybe last round to see if there are some additional questions or other remarks maybe. Otherwise, if not, as mentioned, you have all our contact information on this slide. So always feel free to reach out. And then I hope that this webinar was informative and helped you answering your questions. I want to thank our speakers, Piet Losch, Elisa Urban for your contributions, and also Laurent Stock, Raphael Vertommen for participating in the Q&A session. And most importantly, thank you to all our participants for joining and following this webinar. As mentioned, you will receive a recording and the slides that you can look up via the Lux Innovation website. You will receive an email as soon as everything is online. This call for demonstrative projects for the production of renewable hydrogen is open since the 31st of October 2024 until the 15th of February 2025. And thank you very much, everyone, for participating. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day and a nice week. Bye.